guest facilitator, and well, we should have a small talk about being a facilitator. What does it mean? How can one become facilitator? And what could be good tips for the facilitators, how they should prepare when they have a workshop or they work it individually with the clients. So, please, Mats, would you introduce yourself?
Yeah. Good afternoon, Vedra. My name is Odilon Mets. I got my first name from my father, and I'm very pleased with it. And what brought me to family constellations, it was in 1996. Then I had a big crisis. I was married, not so long, and we had 2 daughters from 10 months, and then my former wife left me suddenly. I had sensed something, of course, but still it was a really abrupt situation.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was like dying. Suddenly she went away, the 2 girls went away, it was a twin. And then I looked for help, and I did several workshops in body work, in emotional expression, but it didn't help me. And then in 2000, I met the first time family constellations. I was then in a training for a therapist. It's called neo-hypnotherapy. And there was also offered family constellations. And I was attracted to it. I don't know why, but I was attracted to it. And then they offered there a training with 2 German facilitators. One is Robert Dutch from the Osho Center in Köln, and the other is Schnee Schnabel, and also one of the first followers of Bert Helling. Then I started to give also family constellations after this training.
How long did it last, the training?
The training lasted only 1 year.
Oh.
But I felt I came very fast at the limit.
Mm-hmm.
And something was missing also. In my soul, something was missing. And then somebody told me, oh, I have seen a good constellator in Belgium, and his name was Heinz Stark.
Huh.
Heinz Stark was giving constellations in different places in Germany and also in the United States. And Heinz Stark, his strength was there. He attracted a lot of people who had encountered the problem of a missing twin. And I was drawn to that, and there I saw that I was missing. I was not alone in the womb of my mother. And there I could bring these missing souls into my body again and into my soul again. I still can sense the very lively in me. next step was my mother. Very important. And I sensed also the first thing was these twins, these lost twins to have in me. And then I could make, as a movement of the soul, go to my mother and embrace her and have her inside of me. And then I also felt, or I could see my father in his really strength and in his position and in what he is and what he gave me. And then that opened for me my heart for all the men in the world.
Wow.
I had an experience with my father. He is living in a home for elder people. He's 93. And I once looked in his eyes. We didn't spoke. I looked in his eyes and I saw eternity. It was a very deep experience. And then, after doing a training, a 3-year training, the whole training, it was a lot of seminars. I followed with Heinz Stark, and I'm very grateful for him that he showed me that way. Then, in my work as a family constellator, I was still missing something. And then I logged in on the website of Bert Hellinger, knowing that I was in the conscience of Heinz Stark. So I had to do with a bad conscience to go at another facilitator. Now I understand it, then I didn't understand. And I went to a trainings camp, an international trainings camp. 48 nationalities were here. Amazing. And I didn't understand Bert what he said. I didn't understand him. But I sensed in my whole body what he says was right. And it was like all the tubes from a big organ was opening up. All the doors went open. And I had, at the second day, I said to myself, here is the place, here you want to be, here I'm going further with it. And I see that the work of Bert and Sophie with her cosmic power, it's opening so much. We say the sky is the limit, but there is no limit on the sky. It's far beyond. Now, that's my story as a family constellator, so we open more and more our view and become very wide, and we become very humble and very still. In my groups, I show it to the people also what happens when we are in that humble state. I place a perpetrator for them and everything. And I say, look at these two and feel, sense in you which side you choose. Can be the victim or can be the perpetrator. And then you look with your heart and you look in a different way. And then immediately you sense you withdraw yourself. You go backwards. And you see that both of them, there is no difference. They belong to each other. And it is the kind of posture that I do in the work, in this work. So we called it in German Gottesdienst. For me it's sacred also.
You said you were also providing education nowadays.
Yeah.
What do you consider to be the very important issues in education, or the content that you are offering? Because it seems you have passed through a lot of your own personal development to come to this stage.
Yeah. When I facilitate, I'm inviting the group to be aware, to be there. Not to sit like that or that. I like to invite them, be here, be present. And I also, how do I say it clearly? I also say that it's a bigger force that has brought us here, brought us in life that comes from far away and has brought us here, and that we can learn here something. And that we all are here because some bigger force wanted us to be here, so we can profit of it. And so we start then to do the constellations. Another thing is I give a training which I have called the force of the silence and the force of the emptiness. And in family constellations, if you open the field and you open the space, then you have to withdraw yourself totally. You have no doors, your heart is open, you are prepared for everything. There is no limit, but you are very, very, very aware. Every sense is in activity.
And how do you, when you do education, lectures, whatever, what is your approach? How you get your students to become involved and to feel it or to gain this kind of knowledge?
Yeah, okay. For me, the knowledge is not as I experience. I'm not a man of the head and studying books and so on. For me, to experience something is for me the most interesting way. And we do a lot of exercises that the people in the group can experience themselves. They can feel it, they can sense it on their own body, on their own feelings, and then afterwards something can come as an awareness of, as understanding. But we can only experience, and from that we learn. So for me it's always like play. We heard it here also from Fred Donaldson. Children play and they experience. And so I'm leading a group also. And I'm a part of it. I'm experiencing also. I try out something new. Somebody gives me some information or a clue. And I say, okay, let's try it. We do it. And then also I get new information and new experiences. So it's in effect a cooperation between all of us.
Does it mean that you do a lot of exercises?
Yeah. And also in my daily life, I'm taking time for me, value my time to make my meditation. I'm also doing a body, a kind of yoga. But to take that time, and I also advise at my group members, please take care of yourself, estimate yourself, and take that time for you to do a meditation or to do something really for you. And when you get this really estimate feeling inside of you, also the estimate to your parents, it's very important, of course, for family, constellator, that you show them that they can be grateful and thankful to their parents. Then, the sky isn't the limit anymore.
Yes. And when you start to work with a group in a workshop, how do you prepare? And there's also a question, do you do something also to prepare the group?
Yeah.
Is there anything kind of exercise for them? Introductory one, introductory speech, or something else?
When I'm having a group, or it can be a new group, or a second time or third time we come together, we mostly sit in a circle. And I'm asking the people, the members of the group, to sit really straight. But first I think I should say how I'm preparing me. I'm very aware of what I feel. I sense the room, I sense the people who are coming in, I sense myself. And bring me in a state where I can be empty, where I can be silent.
Does that mean that you do kind of a meditation first for yourself? Or?
No, not a meditation, but to allow, I am restlessness, or I am not centered yet. And I'm very kind with myself. And when you're very kind to yourself, then you're very kind with the other people also.
Yes.
So in that way I invite him, be here with all what you have. Nothing is wrong, nothing is bad. But be here together.
So you take it all?
Yeah, take it all. Take it all. Thank you.
Nice. Nice. And what about preparing the people, everyday people that you meet on the streets who come to the workshop? Do you do anything special with them, or you don't do it?
What do you mean exactly with my daily life?
For example, in the workshop setting, when they come, probably they are new, they have heard something about constellation work, but they don't know how it looks like, what will happen there. Maybe some friend told them some hints. Do you do something with them? or you just straight go to constellations?
No, I'm not going straight to constellations. We sit down for a while and I ask the group members to focus themselves and to bring them in with what is essential. And what is essential is one or two words. I ask them to say your name and say then what is in you at that moment, what speaks in you at that very moment. And that you can bring into the group. And everybody listens. And we wait. We wait and hear these words from somebody else to reach us. That we are openness, that we open us and let us touch by it.
And what is your experience? Is it the same with man as with a woman? Or is one of them as a group more sensitive to that kind of starting the work, experiences yourself, sensing the essential of these two words you have mentioned?
I don't see such polarization when I do that, for instance. Then I don't realize polarization. When you're really leading a group and you are in your center and you are focused and you make contact to all of them, because I look around, I meet everybody as eyes. Nobody is not seeing. And I'm relaxed and my heart is open. Then they receive your message.
So you use a kind of resonance, you being in the center, just emitting it throughout the group. That's a nice approach. Well, and that brings me to a very important question. In Croatia we have also groups in education. So for such would-be constellators, do you have any tips how to become a good constellator? How to improve?
I think everybody has his own qualities. And everybody has his own way. And I should say, find your way, that everything what comes to you can go through you. And you remain in your silence, or you can remain in your silence. And you will make mistakes and do foolish things. And you will be afraid, and you will sense very strong emotions who makes you like that. But look them in the face. Don't go away from it. Just let it happen. Let you touch by it and learn about it. And after a while, you will see there is no more fear, or it's occasionally. But do it. Do the work. It's a great work. So be brave and do it. And if you make mistakes, no matter.
So what you were in essence saying is be human. I like it very much. Thank you for the advice. And let's say almost the last question, because I don't know what will happen. Is there anything that you do before constellation work to prepare yourself, and after a constellation work with the clients in the workshop?
I'm not doing a lot of preparing, so to say, go into my mind and think of. But before a workshop, the evening before or some days before, it can happen that I had already given these workshops.
Mm-hmm.
That he went through my mind and through my body. And doing, to withdraw myself, to go in a state of meditation, there are some exercises that comes to me, or there are some things I want to say, or I want to offer, and they contact me. And then, if the day is started, we are prepared to, and are there, then it can also change. It's nothing like a dogma, I have to stick on it. No, we can go with the flow and the energy of the group. But still, it's for me, it's a good tool that I have it, that I have something. That was very fine, that exercise I experienced sometime, and I will give it to the group.
And after a workshop?
After a workshop, a lot of things can happen. Mostly I'm going into the nature, making a walk. With all the gratitude I received for that day. And I don't talk about it. I don't talk about it with my wife or so, or just some few things, but we experience the gratitude we had, or we received. And it can be also that during the night I'm going like rehearsal, or something comes up in my dreams or in my thoughts, and that can be also my own issues.
Yes.
That can happen also. That I have a restless night, but also then I'm grateful for it that it appears.
And being a constellator for how long, you have said?
I've doing it now, I think about 14 years.
Yeah, good. So, how do you plan your own development as a constellator? Do you have any aims? For example, going twice a year to certain seminars for education, or doing a supervision with somebody? Oh,
yeah, that's also. I'm feeling me well carried in the field of Bert and Sophie Helling.
mm-hmm.
That's all. And I developed a sort of awareness that I know, oh, there I must go. To that seminar I have to go. And it can be also that I go to another constellator for a workshop, but not for 4 days, certainly not. Or I have to go to somebody who gives a workshop of meditation. But it's like you are related to it.
Mm-hmm.
So for instance, when I was here, I immediately sensed I have to go to Avila. That's in February.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened? The next day, I was sitting next to a man coming out of Spain from Madrid, not far away from Avila. I thought about him, and he said, "Come to me, and then we can drive together to Avila."
Great. You were guided.
Yeah.
And now the really last question. What do you do when suddenly, through your work as a constellator, comes an issue that is your own personal?
Yeah, I think I already answered that question. When it's something personal that occurs, I let it come to me. When you be in when you say yes to everything, that doesn't mean you don't have a choice, but you don't say no. And then you can choose. But when you say, I remain open, then you can learn from everything. Is that an answer to your question?
Yes and no. I will tell you why. If I have an issue, I thought I can look at it, but still I'm kind of unable to go through it. For example, I think 3 days ago, we have seen one of the teachers in having a school having a personal issue with a friend of his.
Yeah.
And he asked for help. So he went to other constellator to set it up, to see what could be his next step.
If that occurs, I will also reach out for it. And if some personal issue touches me, I also wait and let it work in me. For instance, when I meditate, I put it out of me, but I am in contact with it. But it hasn't taken me, and I can look it from here. I am a witness. And then it often happens that something changes. That it's always an indication of, can I say, love.
Yes.
Because it wants to show me something. And that's a kind of trust I have inside of me. That I can say, yeah, you are there. You're there, my issue. Please show, I want to look at you.
And beside that, do you do anything else? Kind of supervision, or you set up your own issues?
No.
No.
No, I don't set up my own issues. I did it before, I don't do it before. When it's really needed, we have such good constellators. I go to that constellator and I say, I need your help. Yeah.
And now the ultimate question, not the last one, but ultimate. It seems it's very important to build trust
Yeah.
when you work with the group or individually.
Yeah.
How do you build it up?
How I build it?
Yes. For example, there is a man who is first time comer to such a work. He has never saw you in his life before, maybe as a website, as a picture.
Yeah, it's always so they show you something. Nobody comes without it's something of yourself. And I lost a bit.
How do you build trust?
I trust. Trust has come also with the experience. I did also a lot of constellations in individual settings or with a couple who comes to a consultation. And I went in different positions. And from that experience and for participating a lot at groups and being representations, you become very, very sure it's right. What you sense is right. And still be open. It can turn. But mostly it's the experience. Without experience.
Yeah. How long you think or feel is needed from the very point you were introduced to constellations needs until you become a good constellator?
The question is whether it's a good constellator.
Yes, that's up to you now.
It's not a question that I can answer.
How do you feel?
I feel warm here.
Yeah. And how long it takes? Or how many constellations?
Oh, constellations, I don't think you need so much constellations. But participating at groups, you can do. Without having any constellation, you can go very, very far to be a good constellator.
So what is a good constellation?
Every issue from another, it's touching your own. And that experience you can, if you're open for it, if you're prepared for it, to receive it.
And in your opinion, your feeling, what is a good constellator? What traits does he have? What abilities? I don't know. What would you say?
Always be prepared. And always be prepared to learn.
That's a good one. That's a good one. I like it. Thank you so much. It was enlightening in many ways.
Can I shake your hand?
Nah, not the same. I like it. Where do you live?
Is it recordings?
Yes, it's now recorded.
I live in Belgium, in the Flemish part of Belgium, between Antwerp and Kent. also not far away from Brussels.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm giving workshops in Belgium, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving workshops also in other countries. And it starts to develop, I think.
Oh.
And what you want, I have 4 kids already grown up.
Yeah.
And I'm 4 times a grandfather for
Really?
4 boys.
That's a success.
And I can see the force in my children that it's going through.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we should start now.
Is it starting already?
No, I'm just fooling around. But okay, Nets, I will now start it officially.
Yeah.